Just a continuation from a previous one. I dropped it at 7.5 minutes on a previous video. A phone call had come in. So go back to where we were, which was Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Those are just neat. I think the cab being so small is what makes the machine look so big. Unlike a mining shovel like an EX3600 or a PC3000, they would have huge cab in there, the size of a garden shed. 245 ME. ME means mass excavator, a shorter boom and stick configuration for quicker cycle times and sitting up on benches and loading trucks. I've got all the Finning Tracks and Treads magazines from 1967 up through the 2000s, which were a local publication, but every time Cat came up with a new idea, they'd do a big write-up on it in the magazine. Learned a lot back then, forgot a lot since then. But that's an odd sight, that many rollers. Stumpmaster grinder. That was new technology kind of back then. I remember in the early 90s seeing Moorbark, Olathe or Moorbark. They're doing demonstrations of them at equipment shows around here. It was just starting to come in. Burning was getting outlawed. Almost is now. Wheel loaders. Nova Scotia. And Montreal. I don't know who made these, if it was 2-block, or if they were a factory thing, if they're an actual Cat thing, or a Finning thing, or an add-on. They're good looking. I ran a D9 with one of those on it there in 1991 for a chunk of a summer. It had that cab, and they were hot. Of course, the air conditioning didn't work, so the vents would blow out 70 or 80 degree hot air. But back then you didn't complain. They weren't used to air conditioning 30 years ago. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't expected. If it was there, it was just a gravy thing. Air tracks. You don't see those around anymore either. Somebody's doctored that up in their own shop. 8-speed transmissions, power shift, but they have a clutch. D6D. I think there was I don't call it gray market. I think it's not even worth saying. I think there was a import version of those, like built somewhere else, another country. I guess the term would be a gray market machine. You know, you can buy a new cat, a small excavator now by mistake at the auctions and places, and it's totally a gray market. Might even been from China. And the one giveaway on, and they do that with Kubotas too. The big giveaway is they should all have a trunnion with side swing, and they don't. Their little 50, 60, 75 sizes are welded rigid. So that says gray market and beware. The JCB. No power slide there. Pin settings. There's no way anybody for different jobs actually went out there and moved those pins. There just can't be. It couldn't have been feasible. The 215, which was a little bit different than the 225, 35, and 45. I think this came from, was it Belgium? Or the design or something. There's something about them that they were their own animal. Draw at 50. Those things had the tilt house like Feller Buncher back from day one. Next. Montreal again. What is that? Bull wheel puller. Well, I'm going to claim idiot on that. I don't know what the heck that is. Terraflex, that would be the carrier. Some kind of access vehicle for getting out into the muskeg. I'll just do the photos. The EL, they did a 180, the 200, the 180s, the 240s, the 300s. It's a weird thing because Cat was kind of competing by themselves, bringing those Mitsubishis in. That was at the same time they brought in these, the 205s, 206, 211s, 12s, the 13, the wheeled model. Cat was really trying to find themselves. Oh, there's a wheeled one, the 212. They're really trying to find themselves or team up or do something weird in that era. And a CA25 once. I just had the black, just a canopy that went up and over, a rain lid, a ROPS, rollover protective structure. It was loud, had Detroit in it. That was on that same job where I ran a D9H. Putting in a big, it's called a sure span culvert for across a huge 80-foot deep fisheries creek. Build a paved road over it. Front half of air tracks, the drills. Specialized equipment there. Probably, wow, that's a lot of off-road muskeg crawlers. Might even had gas engines in them. Olympia, Washington. I think that's the capital of Washington, where the politics go on. The head town. And yet they're not far enough south, because they're very close to us here in BC. They're not far enough south that I think they can justify not having class on their backhoe cabs.